5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. How you doing? What's up? Welcome to the show. Oh, shit. Oh, no. Hey, okay, today on the show... This show is brought to you by Hexa Coffee.
Oh, we almost forgot.
Favorite coffee in the world. Go to hexacoffee.com. That's HEXE coffee.com. Check out using the promo code ELK. It's delicious. You're going to love it. You're going to like the way your coffee tastes. I guarantee it. And today on the show, we have nobody. Just us. No guests.
Did a drum roll, but you were too quick. I couldn't do it.
I thought you were just doing nobody. Yeah, we did one with just the two of us. We've always wanted to try it, and so we did.
Hope we don't bore you to death.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. We spent the whole morning watching Ancient Apocalypse, which is a new show on Netflix about ancient societies during the Ice Age, and we talk a lot about that. So if you want to hear two dumber people relay the information pretty much verbatim from the show, but probably get a lot of it wrong, this is your source for that. Also, at the end of the episode, we talk about our band, The Modern Mystics, and we have a new album coming out soon. And so, yeah, there's a bit of a discussion about that at the way end.
And to be clear, it's awesome. Our music is awesome.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
More music coming soon. That's
right. Anyway, this was a lot of fun. Hope you enjoy it. Okay. What do you think of all this ancient civilizations business that we've been learning about this morning?
What do I think? I think it's interesting. I was definitely recalling back to things I used to learn in my anthropology classes, and it was it was like definitely kind of what he was saying is like these cold hard truths and facts in that industry, or like that part of scholarship.
You learned about the myths?
Well, no, they're not myths. Or like the idea, like he was saying, of how they believed agriculture came before civilizations, like sophisticated civilizations.
But so that's the standard belief,
right?
That we were hunter-gatherers. Then we figured out agriculture. Now we have a surplus of food, which gives us time to develop religion and build things and do
idle
things.
time.
But
that led to all sorts of things.
In this
and
place,
art and everything.
Göbekli Tepe. By the way, everyone, we're watching Graham Hancock's show on Netflix, which is called like Ancient Apocalypse, I think.
Yes.
Super cool. And it's about proof of a society that existed. The mainstream belief is that we started, like society grew from about 6,000 years ago. We were hunter-gatherers, and we've since then sort of got more and more sophisticated. But what his show is doing is proving that far before 6,000 years ago, we were not only hunter-gatherers, we were doing high-level, sophisticated shit. And the belief is that 12,000 years ago, the Ice Age ended rather abruptly. And the belief is that before that, during the Ice Age, was a long period of time of human civilization where civilizations developed to be very sophisticated. And then the Ice Age ended.
And congruently, right? Like in multiple places around the world, which I think is important.
Yeah. And it was like a global society.
Not even one society, but the fact that there were...
Well, just how like today we're globalized, you know? Like we're we're in communication with each other. You could see some of that from
like the maps they were presenting and stuff. And
even like the architecture, the design, the stories. Like there was definitely some kind of linking communication, but but then when the Younger Dryas happened, which is this drastic ending of the Ice Age, sea levels rose, a lot of that shit went underwater, and like we were set back huge. But the idea is that a lot of these temples were built by people who had, some people survived and remembered this knowledge. Anyway, so Göbekli Tepe was built like, I forget what the date was, but way before 6,000 years ago.
Wait, which one?
The temple that they were just on. It's in Turkey, I think.
I was
Like near
not really listening to
Sumer,
that one. Okay.
which is where they say like society started, I think.
Yeah, that was like,
But
what is
there,
Mesopotamia?
the first Göbekli Tepe was built. Then they developed agriculture. So it's like out of order.
Right, it was
It's
like a learning. It
confusing.
was like where you
How
would
could that
learn.
have possibly happened? How could a society that is a hunter-gatherer first build a giant, very complicated structure, then from there start developing agriculture? So that is sort of raises the question, was there somebody who already knew a lot of this stuff, went there, taught these hunter-gatherers how to build this place, and it's like, great, now I'm going to teach you all this other stuff, and like this is like we'll build out from here.
It was like the Hollywood that called them in and was like getting them to be intrigued about this new idea.
Perhaps. It's fascinating shit.
Yeah, why do you think? I mean, what do you think? You're jazzed up.
I'm
can
obsessed
see
with it.
and I want to know what it's queuing up in your mind over there.
I mean, when you're a kid, like the mystery, Atlantis, and then you sort of grow up and you're like, oh, they kind of figured it out. But this idea that like maybe not at all, and like 12,000 years ago there was a great flood that washed over the whole world, and before that was during the Ice Age. I think there was like 20,000 years where the climate was pretty stable. So like look what we've done in 2,000 years or 6,000 years, and what they could have developed in those 20,000 years. Could be pretty astonishing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's always been these really big mysteries that we've not had answers for, you know, like, what are the big
Stonehenge.
No, not Stonehenge, but, but also the big
Easter Island.
Thank you.
Sure.
All those heads. Like, there's so many things that we've sort of just accepted as like, we don't really know how they got there. There's,
Right.
there's a lot of theories, and like geologists and anthropologists study them, but still largely unknown.
And like
but this stuff had like a lot of compelling evidence. I liked the kind of journeys he took you on physically to look at these sites and kind of where the accepted like paradigm is on it now versus what he's suggesting. And I don't know, it's intriguing. It's intriguing that he's pushing the envelope a little bit and shaking up the status quo. And I think most of his questions and his like prodding to investigate particular evidence is kind of a good idea. I think they
awesome.
should keep tugging at it.
We have rolled our eyes a few times though at the program itself.
Yes.
Like the show is a little, because I just watched Graham Hancock on Joe Rogan, and it was fascinating because they're just sitting there talking. He's like, check this out. Let's pull up this chart. Let's do this. Like, let me show you this. I'll prove this. And it's like, whoa. And it's like, really interesting. But now the show that I'm watching that he's on Joe Rogan to promote this show. The show with all that information is like, you know, dramatic camera, like the camera like tilt to make it like spookier, and he'll say these like, oh, were they there? Like, were they put there by the gods or whatever? Like he'll do all this shit that's like, you don't need to excite me. Like the information is exciting.
Yeah.
Like don't patronize me. Like, you know, like
Yeah,
you don't need
the feud that they've built too. There's definitely this
he's got a
feud
real
between
bone to
him
pick with anthropologists
and anthropology at large.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
he'll take any opportunity to be like, and they refuse to study
They
it.
refuse to open
And
their goddamn eyes.
You go on my Wikipedia, it says I'm a pseudoscientist, these assholes. And like, which it's true, it's bullshit that they don't accept him. But it's kind of laughable how much he's like, it's a personal vendetta for him. Which is great, whatever drives you. I mean, good on him.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating. I mean, I've been like recently really into history. All these history
you
podcasts. Tea.
You did.
As always, guys, we leave our tea boiler going, and it just keeps it hot.
Is it we or?
It was me this time. It's not always me. But yeah, I've just been fascinated with history recently, and like as I'm learning about it, it's grasping like, when am I? When are we? Like, you know, what has led to this, and like, yeah, like when are we? And now this. I've been studying like since the 1700s, you know, like when are we? What's going on? Like, why is the world the way it is right now? But this is like, fucking going way,
really
tens of thousands of years back.
It's
so
cool when you
fascinating
find new like fossils or new archaeological sites and all these different things, and you can kind of push back. And I mean, it makes sense that as technology advances and we get tools that can take earth like samples and like go into carbon dating and like do those things even better and better than they already can, like we should be able to find smaller but more like examples of things that we didn't necessarily see before.
Oh, sorry.
And yeah, you would think that that would definitely complicate the narrative of like who was here when and what they were up to. And one thing I thought was interesting about that was that he pointed out that it was very possible that, of course, like even though you had these civilizations already there, that you still had predominantly, or at least other people that were still living like super nomadic lives.
Right. Like,
and it didn't have to, like, we like to imagine that there was, you know, from this time period to this time period, this is how people lived. But the reality is that there's always been different levels of like advanced society and lifestyle. And, you know, some people have chosen to live in a certain way, in a certain style. And they've always been near each other.
Yeah. I mean, not even necessarily chosen, but like, you know. I mean, yeah, perhaps sometimes chosen, but yeah, I mean, just because there's proof that there were hunter-gatherers during a time doesn't mean there weren't also highly sophisticated
farmers,
right. and people with technology. And the example he brings up is today, right now, you have our world, which is pretty technologically advanced, and there are still hunter-gatherers on this planet, and we're coexisting. So, I
mean, mind you, very few, and it's kind of atypical, but
sure.
But the reality, it still is an example of that. It's not a far-fetched idea to believe that that's true.
Sure. And what you said about technology, like, so in the show, they use this ground penetrating radar where it's like, they'll find like a temple in the middle of fucking the woods. I don't know.
It was in Java.
Yeah. And it's like this magical place that's like, they have no idea who built it, when, or how. But then they penetrate the ground and turns out there's chambers underneath it. There's like 3 chambers. And it's always leading, and they've done this on multiple like pyramids and things, and always at the center of it is like a natural spring, which I never knew. I never knew at the heart of
even in
Giza, the pyramid of Giza, it is covering
I didn't know
at
that
the
either.
center a natural spring.
Which makes sense. It makes sense that humans would gather at the most abundant source of life there is. I mean, not only does you need water, but like it also almost always, you know, it gives you fish it gives you fish and food as well as, you know, the liquid nourishment. It's like such a vital thing. So it makes sense that people would choose like these beautiful sacred water spots to set up these places where they could celebrate and things. So I thought that was interesting too. They were looking at the one old pyramid that's in Cholula, Mexico. And it's just, they thought it was forever just like a regular hill, mountain, whatever. And when Spanish colonizers came in, they put a church on top of it and didn't really think anything of it. And now they've realized that there's this massive pyramid there, and underneath it there's chambers. I think that also had chambers in it.
The Cholula one is a little confusing. I think there's like outline of the pyramid left, and they assume it used to be there or something. Like there was another one that was.
Well, the reason I bring that one up,
buried.
The reason I bring that up is because he said this phrase of like, you know, history is told by the winners, which I think is an important thing to remember. Like in that instance, so much history was lost, and they really actively destroyed evidence of the society that predated them. Yeah, which is another like heartbreaking but also exciting thought that, you know, somehow we could figure out little pieces of what that looked like. Yeah,
beneath the surface. Well, and even they themselves would build, it was like a pyramid, but then beneath that were like 3 pyramids. And inside of that was like littler pyramids.
Is what they were saying. The cultural layers where, and it makes sense that you have a sacred site and then you build upon it. You keep doing maintenance work.
Look at Washington, D.C. What did it start as and what is it now?
You keep building it up. And so you might have one site that people have dated the surface only. That's what, you date the top layer. Right. And then, I don't know, I think he was certainly suggesting that anthropologists have sort of been willing to accept that that's when that mound or that like site was formed, but he's really interested in like getting to the core of the matter metaphorically and literally.
Yeah, very good.
Yes,
the place he shows in the first episode with those chambers underneath, it's called like Gunung Puning or something like that in Indonesia.
Yeah.
You know, the radar
really
can date when things happened based on like where it is or whatever. And like the first layer was built in like 20,000 years ago. So like that puts sophisticated humanity 20,000 years ago. Mm-hmm. Bonkers.
That's really cool.
Or I guess maybe it could be 20,000, but it was some astronomical number.
I forget what that was from. That was from soil sediment, samples?
No, that, or maybe it was the radar thing. See, we just watched the show, but we binged through it, and now we're excited about it. We're talking about it.
Making jewelry the whole time. I didn't really look up much.
Secondhand smoke here for you folks. Yeah, but it's fucking fascinating. I'm really enjoying it. And there's
it's exciting to me too, the idea. I mean, wow, not to sound in my head this sounds a little arrogant, but like I kind of thought I knew of like the world's most mysterious spots. You know, I'm like a little Nat Geo nerd. Like I like that stuff. Easter Islands or Stonehenge, you kind of think you've seen it.
Right.
But it was intriguing to me that he's focusing on like those really obscure places that we don't hear of and we don't know of. And I'm sure there are way more. And I think his focus, he mentioned, was staying on like the continental crust. So basically following the outlines of all of our major land masses, recognizing that when sea level is so much lower, you're gonna that surface where the sea and the land meets is 200 meters or however far like into the sea. So I think it's cool that he's focusing on those spaces and seeing what he can kind of like find under the water too.
Yeah, during that long period of the ice age, the poles had so much more ice that sea levels were like 100 feet lower or something. So somewhere right now, like Indonesia, where you just see these little sparse islands, that was just not flat. Those islands are the peaks of the mountains that are left, but like it was a full landmass. And so, yeah, it's like a lot of this is buried
Which I
underwater.
knew a lot about. You hear about in certain places, right? Like the Eurasia-Alaska connection. You always hear about how that was exposed and that's how, Americans first arrived. But I never knew about the evidence he had about like the land masses outside of Florida or like, there was just basically other examples of that never came up in my geography or geology courses or anything like that weren't pointed to as common examples of where that happened. So
yeah,
no, it's cool to see what he's unearthing.
It's cool. And with technology, like they haven't gotten to this yet in the show, but I'm sure they will because they talked about it on the podcast. But like, so there's that ground penetrating radiation, how they're able to see the chambers and see things like that, what's in the ground. There's also something called
Is it radiation? No, it's like echolocation, not echoes.
I think it's a radiation. Anyway, there's something called LiDAR, where you can fly an airplane over a region, and you're doing the same thing, and then you'll see like, if anything has ever been built there. Like, is there any? Because the Amazon jungle is so hard to like just look at.
Sure.
And they've found full cities buried in the jungle. 100,000 people would have lived there. And like it points to this story where there was
makes me want to watch Apocalypse.
I think there was a Spanish explorer in the like, I'm just throwing a number out, like in the 1500s or something. A European went to the Amazon and he came back and was like, they got caught on the Amazon River or something, and it just took them all the way through South America. And he came back being like, there's a whole world there. This giant, like big cities and gold and all this shit. And people were like, some people didn't believe him. And 100 years later, explorers went and there was nobody there. I'm also making a sourdough bread, folks. I have to go remove the lid. But there was nobody there. And they thought he just lied. But it was actually disease.
He killed them.
Him going through spread disease, and everyone was dead by the time they went back 100 years later. But they can see the like sort of foundation of these cities now. And like, imagine when satellites, because it's very small and specific, like places you have to point it at. You can't just be like the whole thing. But eventually we'll be able to the whole thing, the whole ocean, the whole everything. We'll see like a very accurate reading of this stuff. And like, what are we going to learn then?
I don't know.
Do you guys know? Leave a comment if you do.
Some shit got buried up.
How are you enjoying this one-on-one podcast?
How am I enjoying this one-on-one podcast? Having a good time. Bit of a headache from all the resin I was breathing before we started.
What?
I said I have a bit of a headache from all the resin I was breathing.
Yeah, you should maybe wear
I know I should probably get a
thing.
yeah.
Remember all the masks we were all just wearing for like 3 years? Don't we?
It's not
have
like
it?
that. I need a fancy one with the proper air filter.
Oh, like
I should be doing that.
Like
really.
a purge. Like
Yeah.
what you would wear for the purge.
Or yeah, sure, the purge.
Christine has some resin behind her. Maybe you can see it from her camera drying right now. She's pouring some. What are you making? Earrings?
More earrings, keychains, and then I got this massive butterfly mold that I'm making stuff for my nieces.
Set a timer for 25 minutes.
I'm already thinking about Christmas, baby. I'm thinking Christmas presents. What can I give? Ornaments, trinkets. I'm trying to get
Trying to make
myself
some shit.
ready.
Are
Paper
you excited
mache.
for Christmas?
Am I excited for Christmas?
Well,
Do you know me?
Well, what's your favorite time of the year? I feel like you enjoy Halloween more. You're more of an autumn girl.
I do love autumn. I definitely like fall. I like it to be a little cold, not a lot of cold. I don't want to deal with the cold. Don't like snow unless it's like, you're in the mountains. Snow in the mountains is a glorious thing. Anywhere else, I could do without it.
You don't like?
No.
What about in the city when you're in Chicago, it's nighttime, there's Christmas lights in all the stores and it's snowing. That's not beautiful.
No, I would much rather have like a cool like breeze that kind of nips at you, but the sun's still shining and it pops through all the little color
Halloween
changes.
weather.
Yeah.
You like Halloween
I
weather?
love fall. I think it's the most glorious time of the year.
For me, it's Christmas. Like the sort of, that's like the pinnacle of the year. Like it's like to Christmas and then away and then we come back and it's like Christmas is like the anchor point for me.
I mean, maybe October also like kicks it off. You get Halloween
It
and then
does.
soon you're in Thanksgiving. Then you go to Christmas and New Year's. Then my birthday. Like it's a good.
Halloween is like cocktail hour.
Yeah.
Right? We're like, hey, okay. A little bit of
Thanksgiving's
decoration.
like hors d'oeuvres.
Thanksgiving, that's like a hell of a appetizer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh shit, we got the good apps and we got a lot of apps to share. Christmas, that's the meal.
Feast. That's the whole
That's the
feast.
feast. You really make a meal of it. You decorate the tree. You're wrapping gifts. There's bows on shit. Like it's extra as fuck.
And then
Thanksgiving is very simple.
New Year's
it's
is like
appetizers.
the fast where you're like, I gotta chill
No,
out.
New Year's is dessert.
I mean, I guess it is.
New Year's, you just binge on just like.
But then the day after, you're like, I gotta get my life together. It's immediate.
Yeah, then that's when you have to take a shit the next day. That's the diarrhea after the meal. But yeah, I kind of see this whole holiday season as like it's a beautiful meal. And so yeah, we've just kind of coming out of cocktail hour and getting ready for our appetizer round.
Yeah. I don't know. I love Christmas. I love wrapping presents. I love getting gifts for people.
I'm not a good gift wrapper, but you are quite.
You've come a long way, I'd say.
Wrapping though?
Oh,
Well, I did
you
pretty
wrapped
good
that
on
box the other day.
It's true.
Didn't know how
But
it got done. I was impressed.
It's a square box. What do you guess is in there? I got Christine a gift.
I don't know. You said it
And
went
I
with that envelope.
Set it over there. Yeah, there's an envelope too. The envelope is actually even doper. Want me to tell you? No, I'm not.
No, you're gonna be like
But
my
Christmas
family
shopping
now.
is hard, huh? No, not for you. For me, it's hard. It's hard to get gifts for people. I don't even know what I want. Like, let alone know what other
Some
people
people
want.
are easier than others. I have
Yeah, I
a
guess
hard
so.
time with you because you're like, I don't know. You're kind of a just realist with this stuff. Like if you need something or want something, you should usually get it for yourself. You don't really Like you get what you need.
I get what I need.
And you're kind of like simple with, you don't have a long wish list about stuff. Like I have always keeping a wish list of shit I want. It's a bad habit, but I do it. Like there's an active list of
But
things.
your stuff is like crafting.
Yeah, it's a lot of art supplies, but it's
art
also
supplies.
like clothes and shoes and perfumes and makeups. Like there's all sorts of things that I like.
Yeah, there's a whole world there that I just don't have.
Never ending.
There's not like a pair of shoes that I want.
Right, like
If
I'm always
if
like,
I won the
I gotta
lottery,
get
it's
docs.
not like I know what
gotta get a new
shoes
pair
I'd
of
buy.
clogs, or what about those summer Birkenstocks? Like I have my mind on things, you know.
Yeah. But if you give me a weird little instrument, something that makes noise, even like not an instrument, like a little kid's toy that like when you push this button, it makes a weird noise, you know, like or like a ding 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 ding. I love a record, you know.
It's a safe thing, but we're like our records are. We're gonna need some crates or another machine to hold these.
I'm excited for our next home. I was looking in the garage the other day, like we have so much art not up. Believe it or not, folks. There's a lot of art on the walls, and if you saw the wall in the music room over here, there's a whole wall of art.
If anybody wants anything, please come over because we have got art to give.
But you have to do a podcast
to
episode.
A good home, yes.
Because clearly it's been hard to find guests. Well, no, so yeah, how this happened.
Oh, how did we get here, the two of us?
How did we get here?
Oh.
Yeah, well.
Where are we in time? How did we get here?
When are we? And
when are we?
Are we
why
not?
are
why
we?
aren't we? With a guest. I mean, it's actually not been such a challenge booking guests all the time, but there's some coordination involved, and we kept saying like, man, pretty soon we should just do an episode. Excuse me, is that you? Just
Me?
The two of us.
It's our guest today.
The ghosty begurgles, and so yeah, we just wanted to try do an episode just the two of us, and then we just happened to miss last week anyway because I was traveling. It was like shit. We should probably now I'm home and we only have 2 days, so we're just gonna do this one.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm glad. It's good.
Yeah.
We got shit to talk about.
I know. So I've been obsessed with kind of history in recent months. Anything obsessing your little brain there, Miss
I feel
Donna?
like I don't know. I've been doing a good job cooking, and like baking has been, I feel like, on my mind. I've been enjoying that. You kind of, I feel like, gave me permission to bring in computers into the kitchen. I never thought about it, but just like watching a show in the background while I'm cooking gets me so much more willing to like come home from work and tackle a really
so
long
fun.
recipe.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been fun.
Nice.
Been into
So
that,
what-
and I'm like already dreaming of stuff to cook for holiday entrees and appetizers and desserts. Like that's been fun.
So what you like even in your house in Tucson, you never like watch a show on your computer, bring your computer in, set it on the counter and cook while you watch the show?
No, and so now it's been really fun. Like, over the summer when we traveled, I got kind of addicted to white wine, and
AKA
just like the
we're alcoholics.
yeah, just like coming home and pouring a glass of wine and putting on a show and just spending a lot of time slicing. Because I mean, it's easy to lose like 2 or 3 hours in there making a meal, and it's a lot of extra time on your feet at the end of a long day, but. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of times where I didn't have the energy or desire to do that, so I'm glad that that's kind of been a kick in the ass.
Nice. Yeah, we've been making some soups lately. Some bomb soups. Soup was always a huge mystery to me. It was like I didn't even understand how it happened, even though it's actually the most simple thing you can possibly do.
This is another
Cook veggies a
example
little
of
bit and pour in water.
you and me being different, though, because I wanted one of those handheld, what's it called?
Immersion blenders.
Immersion blenders.
You know where
for
it's like
so
you go,
long.
like so the soup is in the jar and you just zhuzh
Yeah,
it.
I
You
wanted
can
it for
zhuzh
so long, but I was like, oh, I'll put it on a Christmas list or like whatever. It's too expensive. I'm not going to get it. And then I mentioned to you like one time and we had just made soup that I think you were stoked on and you're like, I'm getting it. Ordered. Arrived.
Yeah.
It's ours
They're
now.
like $30.
I guess I thought they were more.
I don't know. I don't know if it's 30, but I remember being like, oh, that's all it is?
I think
What?
they're
Nothing,
more.
but we were getting some use out of it. I mean, having to pour the whole soup into
Yeah, and
the
like blending
blender.
it. That's the thing is like
Blending it
one
and
of
then
the, there's
putting it-
always so many obstacles to cooking. Like stuff like that seems unnecessarily hard. Like I'm really into the kind of one pot meals. I don't want to like you see sometimes we laugh at like how many dishes we generate between the two of us in like one meal. It's like everything in our kitchen came out.
Yeah.
I try not to do that. It happens, but you know, I really love when you can just throw everything into like the cast iron and saute stuff, add some things, bake it, whatever it is. Like one pot is just so nice. And I've been enjoying like roasting a ton of vegetables at the beginning of the week and then having them for like different things and kind of making meals off of like the pre-baked stuff. That's been fun too.
Yeah. I'm not liking the pre-baked stuff so much, I gotta say.
What pre-baked?
Like pre-cooked things. Your little Trader Joe's boxes I was talking shit about this morning. I like Christine bought this Trader Joe's box of like
au gratin, or not au gratin. Like
basically mashed potatoes, a luxurious version of mashed potatoes.
And cauliflower like bake.
But we could do that. Well, probably better than this box.
Well, I was trying to come up with an elaborate Thanksgiving feast. I thought you and I would be here alone together, and I was trying to like make sure I had a bunch of things, and that was an easy one. But yeah, it's not as good. But you also haven't tried it, so
that's true. Don't knock it till you try it. That's what they say.
Yeah, and when has Trader Joe's ever really led us astray?
It does. I'm sure it's going to be good.
Not often. Not often.
I'm sure it's going to be good, but
yeah, I mean, homemade is always better.
Homemade is always better.
I think that's safe.
What are you most excited to cook for Thanksgiving?
I don't know what I'll be on. Maybe the pies. I'll do pie. Or I really like my puff pastries, the little pear tart, plum tart kind of thing. Yeah. I like making those. Those are fun.
I think I'm going to make an apple cake, which my mom used to make, still makes. That's just my favorite fucking thing. I got to call her for the recipe, but it's like a crumbly... It's like an apple pie coffee cake kind of thing. You've had it, right?
Favorite? I have. It is really good. It's
I could eat a whole
It's not
tray
that sweet, which is nice, which is probably why you like it.
Yeah, and it's just like appley. I like the fruity pies. Fruity McGoody.
But yeah. What about you? What are you most excited for about Christmas? Or the holidays in general?
Well, there's certain like smells and flavors that come with each holiday, right? Mm-hmm. And there's some I've saved particularly for Christmas. Musically, the pine incense. So we have this pine smelling incense, and like I love it so much. I want to burn it year round, but I don't let myself.
It's fir. It's like the Douglas fir, whatever they call it.
I don't know, but it smells like a pine tree. And so I'm excited to burn that, excited for that smell. I'm excited to taste some of my Oma's eggnog, even though I know you don't love it.
Oh, I love it. It's strong. It'll put some hair on your chest.
My grandmother used to put Everclear in her eggnog.
It's potent. It's the strongest eggnog I've ever had. But yeah, it is very delicious.
I drink it like by the pint. I love it so much.
Don't you dare put it on air, on record, that I don't like it. I do.
Okay. It just packs a punch.
It does. You know what I want to bake? I've had so much fun assembling that crepe cake, and that was so fun that you whipped up all Oma's crepes for me, or pancakes, Oma pancakes.
Yeah, Oma pancakes, which are just crepes. That was funny when TK was like, so she was just like saying she invented crepes, being like, oh, these are Oma pancakes. That was amazing.
I mean, when you're a grandma, you get to tell your grandkids what is true and what isn't.
For me, that's all it's about.
These are Oma pancakes.
We're just killing time till we're grandparents.
I know.
I'm so excited.
Gonna be a good old guy.
An old man, old guy. And we'll tell all these myths of the Great Flood. I'm excited to continue with this history show. Do I bore you every time when I bring up all this history? Because I listen to a history podcast and I'm like, I got to tell you about Teddy Roosevelt or some shit.
No, I don't think you bore me. But I think it is true that, you know, the evidence isn't compelling as you're relaying it to me as it is like obvious and true in your mind, you know, because you've heard the whole uninterrupted context, right. And I'm just hearing like the bits and pieces you remember.
Yeah, okay, that's true. And I like...
But I mean, it's still interesting. I'm always glad to see you jazzed.
Yeah, I'm excited. I get excited about it. It's just fascinating. I was listening to recently, there was a yellow fever outbreak in 1793 in Philadelphia, which this was like the heart of America. George Washington lived there as president while they were building Washington, D.C., which I don't really know. I want to learn about the building of Washington, D.C., but anyways, this yellow fever outbreak, but it was... it draws a lot of parallels to what we just went through. People would be walking through the street and like avoiding one another on the street. But it was funny the sort of remedies they would try because they thought it would work. They thought like burning gunpowder was going to clean the air. So a cannon would roll down the street and like every few feet stop and like shoot a cannon blast and then like go again because they thought like the gunpowder would clear the air.
Washington, D.C. took 100 years to be built because they kept cannonballing it down. Cannonballing. I don't think that's it. That can't be it.
But there was also like, at the time, medicine was so far back and they did this thing called bloodletting. The assumption, it like came
where
from
they
the
like
Greeks.
Thought you were infected, so they would just let your blood run out to try to get the infection out.
There was like an imbalance. Yeah, so like we need to let out like ounces and ounces of your blood,
right?
To get because that'll like pull out the toxins. Crazy.
Glad they found leeches.
Yeah, is that what leeches do? They suck toxins out of your blood.
I think that's why you put them on for like infect.
But do those actually work? Or is that just like
sure.
still an ancient practice?
I don't know.
See,
or is it maggots that are the ones that are actually beneficial to like eat decaying flesh and stuff and prevent infections?
Eat like
I don't remember,
dead flesh off
but
your skin.
I think leeches actually do have like a merit to them. Like that's
Here's
still
the challenge
accepted.
with these ancient civilizations is some things they're smart about, some things they're dumb as fuck about.
Well,
like
same with us.
Correct. But like just because the Mayans thought it was a good idea to chop off somebody's head doesn't mean it is. It was probably kind of a dumb idea they were doing. But they were very smart about like
the stars
and probably other things they were smart about. But it's like, it's hard to choose. Like we can't take anything they say and true of any ancient society. Like this has been done for thousands of years or 100,000 or whatever. But like that doesn't necessarily mean it's good. So you got to kind of dissect like what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's life should be valued equally, and the idea of like sacrificing humans usually meant they were like disposable people. It wasn't like they would take off the king's head or something, right? Like that inherent idea of like some people are lowly enough to sacrifice. Like don't love that.
It's still a sacrifice. It's still considered a sacrifice, so it's not nothing.
Well, and I guess sometimes it was an honor. Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad, all that to say, I'm glad we've moved away past that. Like there's certain things where we should rework our choices based off of new information or new developments.
I wonder what the future holds for humanity. It's pretty interesting. So this is a wild one. I'm going wild for you. On that same podcast I just listened to, this is information I heard on the Joe Rogan Experience, so you know it's factual. No, but it's take it with a grain of salt. But it was that guy Graham Hancock and his buddy Randall Carlson. Randall Carlson is like the geologist who proved all of this true. The Younger Dryas. He thinks actually the Ice Age was ended. The Younger Dryas is when the Ice Age ended, but he thinks it was actually caused by like a meteor shower that just like fucked everything up. And he's been proving that.
Like in what way? It just hit off a bunch of ice and then it melted?
Yeah. Basically, it was like 100 nuclear bombs just all over Earth. And it just like rocked everything. And he's fine. He has proof of it. But he also said that, and he even said like, this is a tangent. I want to come back and like have a whole thing on this. But there's people who have been studying like the ancient technologies because they say, how did they build the pyramids? How did they move those giant stones? And some people theorize that they were somehow using sound to do it.
Sound. How do you move that? How do you do that?
Sound. Hello.
I didn't move anything.
Nikola Tesla had theories like this where like everything kind of has its frequency, and if you hit something with the right frequency, you can float it.
Nudge it along.
Don't know. I don't fully get it. It's above my head. But apparently, these people in Indonesia have been secretly developing it. Not telling anyone because they knew they would get suppressed. But they figured it out and they did it. And over the next 3 months, they'll be unveiling it. And supposedly Mazda is going to come out with some sort of vehicle using that technology. But here's the beauty of it.
It reminds me of like the stones in Death Valley. Like there's still a lot of mystery about those, I think. How they move so far on like relatively flat surfaces and stuff.
Yeah. I thought they figured out how, but I don't remember what the reason was.
Maybe they did.
But the beauty of this, it's a clean energy. I mean, there's no, I don't know what the energy source is, you know? But it's not, we're not burning oil or coal or anything with oil or even nuclear energy with all this shit. It's like, could be a major, major game changer. I don't know.
Could be cool.
I don't know. Like, where my head goes with that, and now we're getting real out there. Because, like, we record everything with electricity. Right? It's pretty much electricity that we do things with. No, this is stupid. It's not good. I was going to say, maybe we'll start recording information, like, as sound. But we already kind of do, and sound is actually... It is also like electricity just turned into sound. Forget it. Not making sense. I hear my brother just being like, what the fuck are you talking about? But yeah, it's fascinating shit. I don't know if it's real or what, or if we're in this great awakening, supposedly.
It's real.
Or not. It is very cool that we're also at a time when more and more people are taking psychedelic drugs and having these psychedelic experiences.
It's
I got another one
Shout
for you.
out to Colorado. Good job.
Yeah, well done.
Making mushrooms legal and decriminalizing other psychedelics.
So I've never done DMT.
Whoa.
Neither have you.
Sure.
Oh, have you?
Sure.
So, but DMT, a lot of people it's like takes you into this like sort of realm. You usually see some sort of entity that talks to you, things like that. And it's never been taken, studies have been done as far as like seriously taking DMT to fight PTSD. But now an official study is happening at some school somewhere where they are giving people DMT, but normally you're like in that like heightened whatever, you're in that realm for like 12 minutes, but they intravenously are giving it to people and they can keep them there for like an hour. And those people are sort of basically going into this place and exploring it for like an hour. And then they come out and they're all having like these very similar experiences. And so what this study aims to do is like map out the realm that you go to when you take DMT.
Whoa.
Like sort of draw some sort of a map of that dimension. So they're putting people in there to explore it. And then the people are coming back and like telling you about it.
Are we living in Stranger Things?
I mean, it is some kind of upside down,
upside
alter
down
dimension
world.
shit.
Yeah, it is cool. I think that was what's interesting about the ancient art. What was it? Ancient apocalypse is like how many, he just points out how many parallel things there are in different cultural mythologies, like around the world at the same time. Like how many different cultures and societies reference the Great Flood or, you know, those shared things, or like the giant people was a thing that kept coming up.
Yeah, the giants intrigues me though because
like this idea that some of those entities and those structures were built by giant people that predated the people who told the stories.
but I don't believe there were actual physical giants.
But there could have been like a different branch of humanity that was much larger.
But we'd find there'd be bones. There'd be something.
Could be.
You know, like if there was an entire species
I thought that was what grew
giant,
on the mountains, those trees.
yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
If there was an entire species of giants, I feel like, and maybe we just haven't found them, or maybe they went to Mars or something like that. Who knows? But I feel like we'd be seeing bones. So that the giants thing confuses me. But a lot of them do. They have a story of a great
there was
flood.
multiple people
Yeah, I know.
that were referencing that.
But maybe like the term giant is actually
means something different.
means something different. Yeah, like maybe, like he said, maybe it means like a giant of mind or something like that. You know, like a god because of their capabilities. You know, maybe they could float from sound. in a Mazda.
They kept referencing the guy that would show up with the beard that was, which like, who cares? A lot of people grew beards. They
No,
didn't
but
have
somebody
razors,
showed up and taught civilization. Like a lot of places have that, where like there was a big flood, then someone came here and taught us how to
But like
make
most
stuff.
grown men probably had beards, right? Like how would you shave them?
Well, I mean, they cut pyramid blocks. I think you can cut hair.
Hair's tricky though. Ancient grooming. I don't know a lot about it. We should probably investigate that.
Probably.
What was the first razor, I wonder?
Well, and it's funny too that the stories like fill in their own sort of purpose. You know, like the flood happened, but a lot of stories say it was like God punishing the people because they were bad.
Lazy
But
and
I think
yeah,
that's
not good.
just from the story being told over time.
Like the dramatic layers being added.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, you're telling this story to your kids, and you're like, why? Well, why would
There's gotta be a reason.
that happen? And it's like, well, they didn't listen to their parents.
But really,
like,
in
they
reality,
weren't
it's
good
like
kids.
natural biological forces happening.
Yeah.
Like heat
But
melted
you find
ice,
a reason for
water in the ocean rose. Like it's not really that mythical.
It's scientific, yeah, but like the story, the way
But
the
it
story
is-
carries on is through something that's captivating. You know, like you need it to be catchy
Yeah.
to keep going. So you naturally kind of add to it. But so Plato's, they talk about Atlantis too, which Atlantis, so the reason we have this myth of Atlantis is because Plato wrote about Atlantis. And he had heard about it from an elder.
Yeah, like one of his older
Yeah,
family
who
members.
traveled to Egypt and was told, and that guy was told about Atlantis. The Egyptians told this dude that there was this place, Atlantis, but God punished them, but they had immense technologies, and God punished them, buried them in the sea. And anyway, but he gave a date. He said this happened 9,600 years ago, something like that. And then Plato wrote about it saying, okay, this happened. Well, so he gave a date like from when he knew, you know, so like based on the same date. And that date now exactly matches up with when the Younger Dryas happened, which was the end of the Ice Age, where sea levels rose and a place, if Atlantis existed, would have been flooded. So like, I mean, maybe Plato just made up this story because it was interesting, but it's pretty crazy that he exactly dated something that happened 10,000 years before him, like within a century.
It's pretty intriguing.
Very incredible.
I like it.
Well, all right. First podcast with just the two of us.
What? You done?
Well, it's been like an hour.
It
Well,
has
47
not.
minutes. It's been 47 minutes.
You got to get the bread out.
I have a few minutes to get the bread out.
Okay.
Do you have anything you want to promote before we go? Your Instagram at Crowned and Creosote. No.
Yeah, watch my baking videos. No, but our
we
music.
have some music coming out soon.
That was one of the things we intended to talk about.
That was kind of the whole purpose of doing
we
this.
thought
Even.
that would be a
So
good thing to do.
we have a band called That Kid Is You. No. No. It's called The Modern Mystics. It's Christine and I. It's called The Modern Mystics.
JC does often
Some of the
jump on
songs
our
are
songs.
featuring That Kid Is You. But basically, when we started dating, we were making music from afar. First, I made some songs and I would send them to you.
Yeah,
Then-
that was like, I mean, that was important. I feel like you really wooed me with those songs.
All right, there was wooing to be done.
It was very sweet
The intention was to woo.
Well, it worked.
But also,
Woo!
like, I made the songs, like, you inspired the songs. I didn't sit down like, I'm going to make a song to woo Christine. It was like, I'm going to make a song, and then I sing, and then be like, oh my God, oh, this is kind of about, okay, let's do this. And then I'll send it to her. She's going to like it. Then you came and visited us. We got you singing on that Comment Down Below song, and then, like, it was on. But at that
Yeah.
point, you still lived in Tucson.
That
And
was
you would,
sweet too.
We
You
would
were like,
make music
it just
over Zoom.
occurred to me that you and I could do this together.
Yeah, there was a moment it blew my mind because music was like my favorite thing to do. And I was picturing our future. Okay, sorry. I've been picturing our future for a long time. I know it's a little creepy probably at the moment, but I was picturing our future and I was like, okay, this would be like my thing I do is make music. So like I stay up late, I make music. Like this is, but yeah, then in that moment it occurred to me like, oh my gosh, we can do this together. Like,
At least before midnight, yeah.
at least before 9 p.m. we
And
can do
it's-
this together.
Then you get it back to
Yeah.
yourself.
But okay, so anyway, you're in Tucson. We were like, we'd make music over Zoom. So a couple of the songs on the project were made at that time, and the lyrics are like me, like sort of encouraging you to move. That's not what I was trying to do, but looking back on it, like that's what the songs are.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I was. And then the rest of the songs we made when you got here. And yeah, JC's on some of them. They're very cool. Very cool songs.
It is cool. I'm glad that it's amazing how far we've come even since then too, and like how much more music we've made, and it's nice that we're really taking the time to nourish and develop these and like let them go. And it was awesome to get Nico mixing them, and then Bijan mastered them for us, and that was really cool. And now you're working on videos.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting stuff.
It's super exciting.
I'm nervous a little bit though.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. It's exciting. I'm excited.
Yeah. It's going to be a good exercise in learning to continue my journey, learning not to care what other people think.
What do you think you're actually nervous about?
I mean, just judgment, I guess.
That people will say it's bad. Would that be is that your worst case scenario?
Like tease me about it or talk about it like behind my back. Yeah, I mean, I don't like it. The idea of people, I don't know, it's very personal and like intimate and vulnerable. And
sure.
Yeah, the idea of it being out there for people to judge and pick apart is kind of intimidating. But, you know, I felt that way when we started this podcast, and I was like, oh my God, it's so mortifying that like all my words are stuck there, and I'm going to say all these dumb things, and it's going to be immortalized. Mortalized, damn it. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? And then all these dumb things I say will just be stuck there. But anyways, that doesn't break me anymore. I don't care.
Do people pick on you for the podcast or tell you it's not good or something?
No, not usually.
But if they do, does it bother you, or are you able to like kind of be like, eh?
No, yeah, I've gotten better at like shrugging it off a little bit. I think the anticipation of feedback or judgment has historically been worse than anything that's happened. Like I imagined I wouldn't be able to get jobs because I, say, sure, I did DMT one time, like things on air that would be incriminating and all that. And like, there's been no consequences so far. The consequences will come. Just not yet. Well, yeah, when people are like, oh, your podcast is like kind of boring. I've heard that. Oh. Constructively. Wow. No one's gone so far to say that to me. And maybe that's just what I'm hearing. Maybe I'm reading between the lines. But like when I hear criticism about it, which is usually constructive, it's like, I agree. Like we're still so new. We've done like 60 episodes. Like this is year one. Like we will look back on these and say they suck. We'll look back on these Modern Mystic songs and say they kind of suck. Like, we make better shit now. I already kind of feel that way. Right, we already make better shit than these songs, but we got to put them out. Like we're always kind of like two generations ahead of the music that's coming out, and that's just kind of how it is. But I feel like that with the way I sound, like my ability to accept my voice and like my style like is gotten more developed now. So when I hear some of this, I'm like, oh, it sounds, fresher. Yeah. And some of that I like and some of it I don't. But we're taking people on the journey with us. And they're rad songs. We think they're rad. They're sweet. They're like toothache sweet, I think. Toothache sweet. Yeah. It's good. I'd say review. So. I'd say so. So, yeah, that'll be cool. More to come. More to come. Mordecai, stay tuned. And thanks for watching. Let's go break bread. Good night, everybody.